Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast with your hosts, Matt High, Richie Kopech, and Joe Capozzi. Welcome to the lair. And welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. I'm your host, Matt High, joined tonight by Rich, coming back from vacation. How did week one treat you?
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. What a welcome back into this lovely world that we love to live in. But yeah, I had the pleasure of getting to verse Tyreek Hill in four of my leagues. And let's just say by 7 o'clock, I was a sad boy. It was definitely not all right. And then just to cap it off with my team on Sunday Night Football. Getting absolutely rolled over. So, yeah, great start.
Football is back. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. But we've been waiting for this. We've been talking about it for a year now, it seems. So I'm just glad it's back. Let's dive right into all the craziness that NFL football has to bring everyone. So, got a lot to go over today. Uh, we're going to be going over some reactions and overreactions that some people are having with some of these teams, quarterbacks, tight, the whole kit and caboodle, along with some crazy news. So, without further ado, let's dive right into the news. Alrighty. So first to start off, I gotta hit the music here. Aaron Rodgers unfortunately tore his Achilles in Monday Night Football. He is done for the year. It is now Zach Wilson's team. I feel really, really bad for the Jets. That team, they've been waiting for this since like February. That's when the rumors started coming up. He came back out of the darkness retreat. Everything was saying, I want to be a Jet. I want to be a Jet. Trade me. We were all just waiting and waiting for this to happen. And it finally did. And we're like, is he the savior the Jets have been looking for? And all the hype was there. Everything was lining up the right way, meshing with the team. And 4 plays into the Bills game last night, unfortunately, he was quickly ruled out. And I don't know if you saw the video in slow mo. It was pretty rough. So for all the Jets fans, I feel really, really bad. But Zach Wilson's there. He was hopefully he takes a leap forward from last year, but it's just a tough blow. Well, what do you think like fantasy implications of this? Obviously, everyone gets a big downgrade, um,
Oh, yeah.
except for Brees Hall, it seems, or he went full God mode and decided I don't care about any injury I had. I'm just going to steamroll everyone. So, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
there?
I mean, he's overall, it's definitely a downgrade on everybody, you know. I mean, it's unfortunate. Wilson seems to still be okay, Garrett Wilson, that is, catching that touchdown and all, but he's going to have to do, I guess, some miracle work, just like similar plays that, just like that touchdown we saw with obviously the quarterback that he has now. So it's unfortunate, you know, it was such a hyped up thing. I mean, we really thought we were going to see a great, just, you know, overall offense and defense come together in this Jets team and make them go all the way, you know. And so it's now going to be tough sledding from here on out. And I mean, with that, yeah, Brees is definitely good at football that we can see, but I think he also takes a bit of a hit here as well. He definitely would have had more opportunities to score touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers behind the helm. So overall, it's a downgrade for everybody. But um, yeah, hopefully there's still going to be some, you know, good production here, and if Zach Wilson can take a step forward, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it basically this really hurts Garrett Wilson the most. I think Brees Hall. I think the volume should still be there. It's just now it's kind of like, are they going to give him the workload they were going to if they were going to be contending for a Super Bowl? Now I think those are, unless a miracle happens, I feel like that might be gone. But I've been wrong before. It's anyone's guess right now, but it's not looking very good. And Garrett Wilson's ceiling, I think, is severely capped now. Unless Zach Wilson learned everything about how to be a quarterback from Aaron Rodgers in the short time he was there, it's going to be tough. You're never going to be extremely confident to start him. There's always going to be that thing in the back of your mind. It's like, is this going to be that game? But he's talented enough that he could do it. So, I mean, you
Yeah,
go over Chris Olave last year had Andy Dalton, and he was able to put together some pretty significant games. So it can be done. It's going to be a little harder to predict now, but it just sucks for fantasy, for NFL. I mean, I feel for him, the Jets, everyone. I mean, this was their swan song. Everything was lining up, and then until it wasn't. So if you have any of these players, it's going to be some tough sledding, but just stick through it, and hopefully, uh, talent prevails. So more sad news. J.K. Dobbins, he tore his Achilles as well, and he is done for the year. He is no longer under contract after the season, so his years in Baltimore are pretty much done. I think they're going to be in the market for a running back in the draft this year, and it's another one that it's a huge blow because he was looking great when he was on the field this week, and until that happened, I mean the sky was the limit. He was showing up to do what people were projecting him to do, and it's just another tough blow. Like usually we wait like a couple weeks for this, or we get him preseason. We at least get like a couple weeks of no injuries, and now it's just like, oh, here's two big players, and I don't care. So if the NFL was scripted, they're doing us dirty this year, coming out hot. But now
that's
we'll talk more about the the Ravens running back room in a little bit, but more injury news because why not? We have Deontay Johnson most likely missing a few weeks. He's definitely, I think, an IR candidate. Hamstring injury did not look good. I'm a little nervous when he does come back, so I hope they put him on IR to make sure they don't force him back. But that is definitely going to be a multi-week absence. Aaron Jones had a hamstring injury as well, and that beautiful 30-something yard catch and run. Pulled up at the end, didn't look terrible. It's not, he was still running a little bit. Wasn't He was getting worked out on the side. Hopefully he comes back this week, but it's still just monitor practice reports. He might be somewhat limited this week, but could play on Sunday. Then we have Austin Eckler. I don't remember seeing it, but he rolled up on his ankle a little bit. I, there was one play where I saw him walking a little gingerly, but it didn't seem serious, and they've come out and not really said too much about it. So I don't know if you caught that, Rich, but are you somewhat concerned about the usage of Joshua Kelly in the stead of Austin Eckler at all?
No, not really. I don't see any. I mean, we've kind of had this kind of similar event in the past where, Eckler gets banged up and um, there's supposed to be something behind him, and I haven't really seen anybody in that room do anything of relevance, past Austin. So if he's not playing, I'm kind of steering clear of that room. Other than that, I'm not really concerned about the injury. I think he'll be fine and he'll be out there.
Gotcha. All right. Then we got Chiefs. I don't know if you caught this news while you were away, but the Chiefs originally thought it was going to be a significant knee injury to Travis Kelsey. Turned out there just to be a really deep bone bruise. So that's good to know it wasn't, but still a little concerning. I know his status is somewhat up in the air still. He's come out and said he wants to play, but I don't know if they're going to play the caution game, make sure he sits a little bit, heals up, because obviously they're Super Bowl contenders, just having Pat Mahomes. So who knows what's going to go on, but that's just something to monitor. It was a bad week for tight ends. Mark Andrews was a do not play in the game. He sat out week one, eyeing a return to the Bengals. For everyone that drafted the great tight ends at the top, like it wasn't fun. So Greg Dulcich someone else who is now going to miss a few weeks with another hamstring injury. So everyone protect your hamstrings. That's like I feel like the main goal here, the main point of this entire show in this section is protect those hammies because they be snapping. But
They do be
he's
snapping.
he's going to be missing a couple weeks. So Adam Troutman is now the guy, unless they bring someone else in. It's tough out there, man. I mean, tight end's already a terrible position for fantasy. You're basically just putting someone in hoping they score a touchdown, But now it's just getting worse. Without the top two guys playing last week, it was rough. Hunter Henry finishes the tight end one, so not great, not a fun time. But I think that's pretty much all the news. So I'm gonna end this section before we get too sad. Going over to the main part of our show today, we got a couple takeaways. We're going to go over, discuss if we're panicking, if there's anything we should take away from it, or if that's going to be um, something that continues going forward, or if we just think it was a one off and, you can write it off like we tend to do on some things. But first thing here, is there anyone outside of Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes on the Chiefs you want to start at all? And that's including the running backs. Because for me, if it's Mahomes and Kelsey, and that's it. I'm not confident in Pacheco. I'm not confident in Kadarius Toney. None of them. For me, I'd rather stay hands off completely. So, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs there, Rich?
I 100% agree with you. It's quite relevant that Travis Kelsey is the number one option for Pat Mahomes. It's something that we have continuously seen in the past, and it's something that I think, without him, we just saw what happens. And it limits Pat Mahomes because without him, it's gonna always be, I think, just a gamble of who he is gonna be going to. I mean, if you look at the scores across the board as far as the fantasy points produced for the Chiefs after that game, I mean, nobody scored higher than 10 points. Only the rookie Rashee Rice came in with a touchdown catch, which kind of bumped him to get over the 10-point mark, barely 10.1. Other than that, no, there was no weapons there. Nobody to catch the ball. Kadarius Toney looked confused and looked like he couldn't catch anything. Um, yeah, no, it was kind of just another day, I guess, of what we've seen from Pat Mahomes. And as far as what I've seen, it goes to anybody, and then Kelsey will get his.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a little bit vocal on my feelings for Kadarius Toney, but watching that game, that dude can't catch a cold. It was drop skis all over the place for everyone. Sky Moore was just running wind sprints. He ran the most routes on the team, and it equated to nothing. So it's just tough. I know, like it was a little up in the air. Kelsey's out, so the game plan changes. I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, you got Pat Mahomes throwing his ball, and that like some of those balls were perfectly placed. They just could not catch to save their lives. So it's just going to be tough sledding. If Kelsey's not out there, you're not going to be confident in any of them. They're going to produce because one of them is going to. But as we saw in that game, he was throwing it to everyone. Didn't matter who it was. He didn't have a locked on target because Kelsey wasn't there. He was sitting on the bench. I feel like a couple of throws, he was probably trying to throw Kelsey on the sideline just so someone could catch the ball. But it was just tough to watch the wide receiver room. And for me, like I don't want to really bother with them. I have Pat Mahomes in a couple spots, but I'm a little nervous, a little bit. I mean, it's still Pat Mahomes. He still gets it done, but it might not be as pretty as we're used to. So, all right, next fun one. Jahmyr Gibbs. Is he going to take over the Lions backfield at some point? Or is it going to be one of these backfields where they cannibalize each other? Because David Montgomery, he scored the touchdown. He's clearly the goal line back. Jahmyr Gibbs was somewhat limited, going in. We knew he wasn't going to be a full snap player, but he looks electric. I mean, watching that game, he moves extremely well. Good vision. Unfortunately, that one play he just tripped because if he didn't, I feel like that was going to the house because he hits the hole. He runs hard. Once he gets to the outside, it's gonna be hard to bring him down because he picks up speed quick. So
Yep.
what are you thinking about the Lions? Are you
Well, no, I mean, honestly, it's as far as Jahmyr Gibbs goes, he is going to be capped by Montgomery, I believe, this season at least. They did pay Montgomery to be the guy. I mean, I understand that Jahmyr was there in the draft from the grab, and I understand they were very excited to have him. But it's from what I saw, it's 21 carries for David, and it's 7 carries for Jahmyr. So 3 times more the carries. You got to understand that the rookie's going to get acclimated into the system. They weren't going to just give him the lion's share from the get-go. That's not what I believed from the beginning, and that's not what I didn't believe that about Bijan either. That's why I wasn't very surprised when I saw Tyler Algier getting a lot of work out there too. Tyler had a fantastic year previously as well. So, I mean, these rookies, as great as they are, I mean, the running back room, I think, is just a different animal than what we've seen in the past, and we're not going to see the days that we've seen of these bell cow backs, right? Where they just take the lion's share of the work and run away with it. So there's work to be spread here. The Detroit Lions offense is humming. I love what I see. Jahmyr, like you said, if he could have not get tripped up on the one play, I think he would have more numbers to his name right now. Both are solid starts. I wouldn't be mad at either. So
Yeah, Monty is someone that I targeted in drafts this year because he was going pretty late. But his workload, he's going to get volume. Both of them are.
yeah,
He's not going to have the flashy plays. Like I feel like that's kind of behind him. Um,
right,
Even in Chicago, we didn't
right,
really see him be super flashy. The one year
right,
that Tariq Cohen got hurt, yeah, he had an increase in targets, but now Jahmyr is here, and he is going to get the targets, and he looks great. So it would not surprise me if at some point he does slightly take over, but I don't think. I feel like the most it would be like a 50-50 split. I don't think it would be he's
yeah,
going to do 70-30 or anything because Monty, they paid him, like you said, they paid him to be the guy, and that's what they're going to go through with, especially with Jameson Williams, suspended for a couple more games. Like Jahmyr
right,
is going to be fine. If anyone is somewhat afraid or threatened by Monty, you go try to get Jahmyr Gibbs before he blows up because this is going to be your one time. Better shoot your shot. So, because if not, next week if he has a good week, then that door is closed. So, I'd be trying to see what the person who the Jahmyr Gibbs owner would take for him because if you want him, like he's going to be good. Like we've seen it. I don't see him going the route of DeAndre Swift. That's another sad story that I have to deal with in our dynasty league. But hey, it is what it is. Speaking of more running backs, now that J.K. Dobbins tore his Achilles and is out for the year, is there anyone on the Ravens who's the running back you want, and do we even care? Because it should be a good offense. This week it was a little iffy. There was a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think there was 3 total. Dobbins had 1, and I think Justice Hill had 2. But right now they called up Melvin Gordon to the roster, the 53-man roster. They have Justice Hill and Gus Edwards. Do we think the RB1 on the team is on the team? Because I know Leonard Fournette is still out there. You got Kareem Hunt out there. What are you thinking about the Baltimore Ravens running back room? Should we even care?
yes, yes, we definitely should care. RB running back is a position that points are hard to come by, I believe, if you're not getting players that don't have opportunities. And right now, we're gonna see one of these boys come up and have an opportunity to kind of take the backfield over. I understand it's Lamar's backfield. I understand that he is the pretty much running back one of that team, as they say. But yeah, I mean, I still would put in a claim for Gus Edwards, Justice Hill in deeper leagues and also Melvin Gordon as well. So I think Gus Edwards takes the lead. should. Um, but Justice Hill seemed to be putting in the work. So it's I think we're gonna have to just kind of do a little bit of a wait and see approach, and hopefully whichever guy you put your claim on is the one to get. But I wouldn't exactly be very excited, as I feel like JK just had that ability to just be the guy, and actually give you that great kind of number. But just sad to see, So it's Gus Edwards for sure. Until further notice for me, at least, that's where I lean. But yeah, just unfortunate with J.K. Dobbins, after the ACL tear back in 2021, all missing that. I mean, the guy's played like what, 23 games, 24 games in 3 seasons. So that's it's rough. It's rough, So hopefully, speedy recovery, and they get to actually see what that guy can do for a whole season.
Yeah, I feel like it might be bad to say, but his career is going to be very short.
Yeah,
I feel like he's going to be go the way of Todd Gurley, where he's in the league and then he's not, because
yeah,
2 seasons completely derailed. Well, three really. Two basically complete seasons ruined by injury, and then last year he was on and off. And
yeah. He only
I mean,
played
he's
eight
his
games last season.
yeah, because he came
Oh,
back and then went back to IR and then came back and then looked great. And it just sucks, man. I hate when these guys get injured. One for fantasy,
yeah,
but two, like, I mean, just think it. He was in talks with contracts, for coming for next year, and those are going to be. He's going to get like the veteran minimum going somewhere, and he's never going to be the lead back. I don't think ever again. So this
yeah,
was a shot, and unfortunately, just the injury bug just likes him. So it's unfortunate, but it's going to be hard. Like, I just don't know who. Gus Edwards probably has the best shot because more
I do
familiarity
like
with
him over
the
there.
offense. Yeah, he's stuck on the roster for a while. He's had his
Yeah,
flashes. He's going to get the probably the first shot. It's just Justice Hill looked good. He's someone that I didn't really expect to still be there because I think he signed like a contract extension last year, or was it this year? They like him, and obviously they're going to put him in goal to go situations. Like he did pretty good in with J.K. Dobbins missing, so it might be Melvin Gordon. I feel like is just a guy. I'm to the point now where any of these running backs that have been bouncing around team to team, I don't really care. Like I'd rather be wrong about them having them on someone else's team than have to worry about them being wrong on my team. So Melvin Gordon,
yep,
I don't think is going to do anything. But this is a team that Latavius Murray, Mark Ingram. I know Mark Ingram was still pretty good when he was on the Ravens, but you know, Deonta Foreman, he was a thing on the Ravens. Like this is a team that runs the ball and they don't really care if they have a young guy or an older guy. They know the older guy is going to get it done. So it's just one of those situations where it's going to be hard to guess every week. And I feel like that's going to limit everyone's upside. And you're never going to know. You're never going to feel confident in playing any of these guys because, unless they come out week two now and one guy gets 80% of the work, which I don't see happening. But that's, I feel like, the only thing that could sway my opinion there. But we'll have to wait and see here. So the Steelers offense, that's the next question I got here. Are they that abysmal that they can't put together a good game script or, you know, product on the field? Or is the 49ers defense just that freaking good? I feel like I lean towards the Niners side, but I'd like to hear what you have to think.
no, I also am with that. The Niners looked good. They came out steamrolling. I mean, it was tough to watch as far as if you're a Steelers fan. Um, they really just couldn't get anything going. It was tough. But I think, you know, slow roll it, calm down. I think that we're going to see some better stuff. Kenny Pickett looked good in the whole preseason. It seemed that he was kind of going through the right progression. So um, I think we just need to shake it off and look towards week two. If you're in hopes of any Steeler there, obviously Deontay Johnson kind of hurts, but It's also going to kind of maybe affect Kenny Pickett a little bit, but we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe we just lower the expectations a little bit, and we kind of expect a little more growing pains in year two of Kenny Pickett. But overall, I'm still there. I'm still with him. I'm not panicking yet.
Yeah, I'm with the Deontay injury. I'm a little panicked because he represents a very reliable target. Now he has George Pickens, who, yes, has some highlight reel catches and all, but part of the reason for that is he can't separate. And Kenny Pickett coming into year two, like, you want that reliable target. So if Pickens is double covered or he can't separate, and are you throwing to him or are you throwing to Deontay right across the middle, who's wide open because he's an excellent route runner? That is now gone. Now you have Allen Robinson and George Pickens. Not the best. We've seen Allen Robinson. He moved to the Rams and I guess forgot that he was going to be a Ram. He he just decided not to show up. So now the Steelers have him. I know he got what, like 11 targets or something like that, but it's I don't think that's going to be good. And so this is a big downgrade. I mean, one player can, yes, make or break a team, it seems. And Deontay, with the reliability that he has, that's now gone. I don't see really how Kenny Pickett is going to recover unless he takes the second year leap, which you lose a weapon, it's hard to do. So I'd be a little nervous. We'll see what happens. We'll get the full scoop on Deontay's injury and see what comes out this week, but it might be time to lower your expectations, like you said. So sticking with the same game, should we be starting Brock Purdy as a top quarterback option week in, week out? Because I was on the other side. I did not see him repeating what he did in such a small 7 game sample size last year. Uh, but he came out and looked great against a decent defense. Now, I know they had a couple injuries, but he did that when everyone was still kind of on the field. So, what are you thinking about Brock Purdy? Is he that guy, or is this more of a mirage?
I think he's that guy. They love him. They love him there. I mean, the story is crazy, him being the last pick in the draft. The thing is that he got put into the best position, into the best spot that he could possibly have asked for. I mean, the team around him is just insane. The weapons he has there, he has such a good chance of success with this team. It's kind of like they just all do it from the defensive side, as we saw, to the offensive side. I mean, those weapons around him between George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk seems to be taking the next step into, being a solid wide receiver. You have Debo Samuel coming in every now and then with what we know he can do. He's a huge playmaker, and even though he still was a little quiet, doesn't even matter. I mean, just to the point of like him being there is a big deal. And then let's not forget Christian McCaffrey is in the backfield, the best pass catching running back in the game. So overall, it's just like all the kids got to do is just be somewhat accurate and let the playmakers do the rest of the work. I mean, and that's just what we're seeing. It's the statistic for him. He's the first quarterback to win his first 6 games in a row, or with 2 passing touchdowns in them or something like that. I think that was the stat I saw on TV the other day. It's just working for him. It's not supposed to be because we feel like because he's the last pick in the draft and yada yada, but I mean the kid just happened to get plopped into the Shanahan system with amazing weapons around him. So I mean, look, I'm it's not like picking Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, but those 3 names I just named, they got less points than Brock Purdy this week. So you do the math.
Yeah, it's still week one, but that's why we're doing this show. But it, for me, I want to believe that Brock Purdy is that guy. It's just history is just telling me it's unsustainable look, I pulled up his stats last year, 2022. What do you think his touchdown rate was? Take a guess. League average was about 4.5, 5. What do you think it was?
All right, so give me like I know it was like a higher than normal, so let's go with like 5.5.
7.7. That is crazy. That's in 7 games.
Okay.
That leads Pat Mahomes, Tua, Josh Allen, Dak, Joe Burrow, Bailey Zappi. Like that. There's some big names that he did better than from that aspect. So that is going to come down. I feel like it has to. Just history tells me it's going to come down. It's unsustainable. But then I watch him play and I'm like, man, this kid's good. So it's really hard. It's going to be one of those situations where I'm probably not going to be in and it might burn me. So I guess he is that guy. I wouldn't play him over some of these top quarterbacks that you drafted, but maybe he should be. So this was a bad week for quarterbacks. So it, him doing well against a decent defense with those weapons, he's set up for success. So he could just be amazing. Got a fun one here that we're both going to be very sad about. But Dallas defense, are they the best pick in fantasy? Like
No.
it sure seemed like it. It sure seemed like it this week. I mean, what
Yeah,
they scored what 37 points or something?
something like that. Yeah, it's
They
35,
looked
37.
so good. And I know the Giants played abysmal. And I feel like we're
Yeah,
going to have to get used to that because I don't see things getting much better. But they looked like a Super Bowl defense. They were doing everything right, didn't let the Giants do anything worth anything at all. So part of that is the Giants offensive line is just I guess Swiss cheese that's been sitting out
questionable.
melting in the sun,
Yeah,
but it was rough to watch. But if you played against them, you probably lost. And they were 95% the reason. So I just don't know how a defense. This reminds me of when the Patriots defense a couple years ago was just lights out,
yeah.
and they carried people to the championship because it was like every week they were scoring a touchdown or two, and like it was wonderful. I had them. That was the year I actually won in fantasy in our dynasty league because I had the Patriots defense just steamrolling people, and that seems to be
I
what the
remember that
Dallas
year.
Cowboys are doing. It was a fun year.
Yep.
Well, we won't talk about all the other years that I
Yeah.
had.
No, yeah, it does look like, the Cowboys are doing what the Patriots did, but it's only week one. I mean, they played against the Giants in the rain. Danny Dimes did not look like he knew how to play football. Our offensive line did not like work. They weren't even there. So, yeah, I don't know. Give me another 2 weeks of them doing this, and then you have my my signature underneath that saying that they are the Patriots of
I'll I'll
those that are
mark
to
it
come.
down. I'll mark it down on the list here. We'll remind you in a couple weeks that you said it.
I'll be real.
But
I'll be real sad if the Cowboys do that.
yeah, no, it's gonna be. I feel like we're gonna be in for a bad year, but we'll see. Hopefully, we get in a position to draft Caleb Williams next year. We'll
Hmm.
see. But Anthony Richardson showed up this week, rookie, week one, very low expectations. I feel like across the board, he looked pretty good for being a rookie. I mean, finished with like 20 something points, had a rushing touchdown, ran the ball, did come out of the game at the end with an injury. Sat him on the sideline. He's come out and said he avoided serious injury. It was a knee, but is he a must start? If he gets the green light, he's cleared for practice and everything, not going to sit out. Should we start him every week? Because you weren't on the episode, but I was talking with Joe about some rushing metrics, and where those quarterbacks finished. And it was like 80 plus rush attempts on the year, 650 yards. You were a top 8 quarterback. Anthony Richardson came out. He has that upside, despite his passing. Like, that doesn't really come up with a lot of passing. He actually looked pretty good at passing. Had a couple weird throws, but he's a rookie, so we gotta give these guys time to develop and get acclimated into an NFL offense. So, what are your thoughts on Anthony Richardson? Did he change your opinion at all, or is it more the same that you thought going in?
I mean, I like what I saw. It was cool to see him doing his or using his athleticism. The running ability is just rushing ability is crazy with him. But it was concerning to see the injury at the end, and I think that's kind of where my hesitation now pulls me back a bit. Um, I don't think I can fully just throw him into my lineup and set it and forget it with him. On the matchup, I think definitely on a good matchup, he can probably destroy people. He'll definitely put up some solid numbers for you, but it's a little too volatile for me to just want to go full into it right now. The kid is still a rookie. He's still gonna make mistakes. And I mean, where I know the rushing ability can be crazy, I don't know. I'm still very much skeptical with say like a harder matchup. So easy matchups, yeah. Easy. I could definitely stand behind putting him in.
The best part about him is if you drafted him, most likely you drafted another quarterback as well. So you can wait this out. He gets Houston this week. I'm starting him. If he's cleared to
Well,
go, if he goes with Houston, start him up because he's gonna light him up.
so Matt, let me ask you. Um, let's say you know, I'm in a little bit of a predicament, which I am. I have him. I'm the one that got him in our draft league. So would you start him against Houston, or would you start my starter, which is Jalen Hurts, playing against Minnesota on Thursday?
Oh, I'm still starting Jalen Hurts. You can't sit him. Don't remember your
I
your
don't
rule.
get cute.
Don't get cute. That would be getting too cute. I'm talking if you have Geno Smith and Anthony Richardson, I'd probably take the shot on Richardson.
True.
That's kind of
And
the
for
line.
sure.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
I'll take the upside of the rushing because all he has to do is rush a couple times, and he's probably gonna have the baseline to even if he throws one touchdown or does a little bit in the passing game, might still finish
All right,
ahead.
let me back it up a bit. Let me back it up a bit then. How about this then? So are you starting Anthony Richardson or are you starting Justin Fields?
Oh, still Justin Fields.
Still Justin Fields. Okay.
Yeah,
We're not any concerned about what we saw.
no,
Okay.
I'm not. Why don't we dive right into that now? That was going to be the next thing, but since we brought it up, let's do it. So, Justin Fields, yes, looked pretty awful. The Bears looked terrible against the Packers, and it was really frustrating because you drafted him to be what he was that last year, where he took over, ran the ball a lot. We thought he was going to get better with passing. DJ Moore was a complete non-factor in this game, which was very surprising to I feel like him and everyone involved because you paid the man. Well, they traded for him. So they traded the first overall pick to get DJ Moore plus, and they threw him the ball like 2 or 3 times. That doesn't seem like a good recipe for success.
He
Use
got
the man.
covered by he got covered by Jair Alexander though. So
Yeah. So that's where
he's a good corner.
yeah, that's where I'm like, give it another week. I'm not
Yeah.
ready to panic yet. Let's wait this out. Bad game. It was week 1. A lot of people didn't really play in the preseason. We saw this across the board. I mean, all the quarterbacks basically sucked. It was a
Yeah.
bad week. So all the big game guys you picked up and you drafted high did very little for you. Joe Burrow, we had everyone. Lamar. it was a really bad
A
week.
lot.
So
A lot.
yeah. So
So
stay
no
the
panic
course.
on them.
No. I don't think so. I think that would be unwise to start making crazy decisions about the entire you're basically the top of your draft in week 1
Yeah,
because
agreed.
week 1 is always crazy. Last year, I remember it was really nuts too. There were a lot of bad things that happened last year. So I'm trying to.
Right, agreed.
Part of me is part of that is me telling myself that so I don't forget it. The other part is me hoping things get better because otherwise it's gonna be another rough season. But got a fun little keep trade cut here for you. Tried to group a couple players that didn't have the best week, but did okay. So keep trade cut. I'll let you go first here. Miles Sanders, Alexander Madison, or James Cook. What are your thoughts?
So looking at the which way I would go, keep trade cut, I'd probably say that I would keep Miles Sanders as far as over the three or over the other two. And I think it's just because Miles Sanders, I think, still is gonna eat. I mean, there's still some Bryce Young growing pains there. I think he's gonna lean more into Miles Sanders as we go. I like what I saw from week one. I mean, he was utilized. So between the three, I think I'm the least scared about the three with Miles Sanders. And then I would trade Alexander Madison, just kind of based off the touchdown that you saw there, because I'm a little skeptical as to what Kirk Cousins can do, or how he's going to produce as we kind of go. It didn't really look all that great. I know that, again, week one, everyone's supposed to hesitate and all that, but I don't know if I necessarily like what I saw from Alexander Madison. I mean, you take that touchdown off the board and he's mediocre at best. So to me, I think you gotta take it right now, and I would trade it and probably get what you can from it, you know. And then that leaves me just to cut James Cook. And I mean, it's tough because I don't want to say I want to cut James Cook just yet. But it's just kind of between the three at that point, and that's my decision there. But I guess if I had to put a reason behind it, I still think that I mean, I have a lot of concern over what I saw from this past game. I understand it was the Jets, but I did not think that Josh Allen was going to get shut down the way he did. And I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know how much utilization we're going to see from James Cook overall. There's still Damien Harris there, so Josh Allen still loves to run it in himself. So I got questions there. So I'd cut James Cook.
That's interesting. I didn't expect you to go that way. For me, I'd probably trade James Cook because I think you can get the most from him. He had a decent game, a lot of receptions, uh, against a good defense, obviously, because they pretty much shut down the Bills for the most of the game. I struggle with Miles Sanders and Alexander Madison. I think I'm going to keep Miles Sanders just because I think his involvement is going to be more, and I feel like that's more. He's just safer because Alexander Madison has never been the guy because he's never had to. Now he's in this role and he didn't really do the best. He had the touchdown. It was like a 4-yard passing touchdown. So yeah, it's nice, but um, I'm a little more concerned about Madison than I am Sanders. Sanders is still pretty high for me just because I think his involvement in this offense is going to be a little bit more predictable because again they paid him. I'm going to follow the money on something like this. They extended Madison, but they didn't give him a ton of money. Miles Sanders, they gave him the bag plus another bag. So I'm going to keep Sanders, cut Madison, and trade Cook. So, all right, let's have a little bit more fun here. Who are your top 5 wide receivers for the rest of the season?
All right, so I was intrigued when I saw this question. Kind of made me cycle through here. And I mean, it's funny, I mean, we're into just week one, and to kind of call your shot at the top five for the rest of the season, I think it's tough, But I kind of played it in a way where I looked at this just from week one's perspective. So with that, the number one wide receiver for me right now is Tyreek Hill. That man looks dangerous. He ruined my week one. He made me want to turn off the TV in multiple leagues. And so with that, yeah, Tua can sling it as long as he stays healthy. I don't see why this connection doesn't continue. I don't think anybody can really cover Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, look, if the ceiling is 40 points, you take it. You take that all the time. And I think that player like him, Tyreek Hill, he can do that more often than not. I think we're gonna see. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at least another two more times this season. Hopefully, it's not the week 11 when I see my week one opponent again. But anyway, so moving on to my wide receiver two, that would be Justin Jefferson, safe, secure. Even though he didn't get a touchdown, he was still very much a secure player, still the wide receiver one for that team. He's another wide receiver that I think just has special ability where he can just catch the ball, and with that, it's safe. It's good to see. So yeah, Justin Jefferson still is my number two at that point. Um, then moving on to the third. Again, I'm playing off of what I saw. And even though I just talked badly about the Bills and how Josh Allen had a bad game, Stephon Diggs actually moves into my wide receiver three here. Um, Even though there was so much horrible to take away from the Bills and how bad Josh Allen did, he still found his man multiple times throughout the game, and he was there to catch the ball over and over and over again, no matter what. And I mean, if you add a touchdown or two more to that. I mean, I know he caught a touchdown, but if I mean, the way that it works, look, the score was low. There should have been way more on the board, and if that continues on, if the minimum is one touchdown, and with an uptick of 2 to 3 a game, I don't see why Diggs can't be a top five wide receiver there. Sliding into number four, then is one Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, off the week one, it's just the usage, the way that Jared Goff used him. I think there was just a lot on the table there as far as the weapons that they have, and still we saw Amon-Ra produce and do well. So I think again, safe bet. You're going to see more of that, I think, consistently as we go. So yeah, great player. So that's good there. And then kind of ending there, I still I'm going to say that it was just a bad week for Joe Burrow. And then with that, Jamar Chase had a bad day as well. But we know how spectacular Jamar Chase can be. It's hard for me to not have him in my top five. So that's why he will continue to stay in there and just end the top five for me.
Not what I thought. I thought a couple guys were gonna sneak their way in, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is a pretty spicy pick. I love it because he looks great. I've been saying it for the past couple years. He's one of the best route runners in football, and it says something that he gets as many targets as he does. Targets are an earned stat, and that man earns every ounce that he gets. One thing before I go through mine here, I just want to bring up like Tua. He looked so good. There were a couple times where he's throwing the ball, and they were great throws. Like I know Tyreek Hill is just a freak and can run around the field like the Flash, but there were a couple throws that he made that I was really impressed. He kind of shut down a lot of negativity that has been surrounding him as far as is he going to stay healthy? Is he good at throwing the deep ball? Is he accurate? For me, he kind of completely put that to bed. He just looked the part. He looked amazing. So I'm very very glad to see that Tyreek Hill and him are going to be hopefully on the field for a lot and give us all the fantasy points possible. So alrighty, jumping in here to mine. My wide receiver one, no surprise, Justin Jefferson is still going to be there. Kirk Cousins had a bad game. And he still was able to get Jefferson's ball every chance he got. So that's someone we've seen it. We know him and Hill have the same game breaking ability pretty much. One's going to do it more on target volume, and the other one's going to do it on these big flash chunk plays. So Jefferson at one for me. Tyreek Hill is going to come in at number two. I bumped him up because of that game, he looks so good. I know he wants 2,000 receiving yards, something that I don't believe has been done. So he's shooting for it, and he's on pace. So just got to put a lot of more games like that on the shelf, and he should be there. 3, I'm still gonna be a believer in Jamar Chase. He's number 3 for me. That was a rough game in a monsoon against a good defense. I know they're gonna see them again, but it's also Joe Burrow didn't play any of the preseason with that. I think it was a calf strain. So first game back, some jitters. We see this very frequently where they take a little bit to come back to form. Next week, I feel like it's going to be lights out. Chase is going to be a huge part of that as well. My next guy, wide receiver 4 for the rest of the season, is going to be CeeDee Lamb. I was very encouraged by his game breaking ability. He had that one beautiful catch. They just simply didn't need him in that game. The defense did all the work. Dak didn't throw the ball a lot. It was the running game and the defense. So that's not always going to happen. It might happen more often than not, but I still think that CeeDee Lamb is going to be perfectly fine. He's still the guy there. No one's taking that off the mantle. This next one I'm very excited for, and I had to move him up. Calvin freaking Ridley. Dude balled out. Haven't seen him in almost 2 years playing on a football field since he left the game, and then last year was suspended, goes to the Jaguars. We were all like, well, he's going to have a couple shake the rust off games probably. And he picked up right where he left off. 11 targets, I think it was like 100 something yards. He looks so freaking good. And I'm very glad that he is back. I held him in a lot of dynasty leagues because I wanted this. It was really hard to move on from him. Now you can basically get whatever you want because he looks the part. He's playing the part. He's on a great offense. What do you think about Calvin Ridley? Because I know he's obviously not in yours, but how close is he? If you had to pick, is he close to the top 5 or is he closer to the top 12?
Oh, dude, for me, he's right there. He's the sixth. If you told me top six, I would tell you he's right there. And honestly, I mean, I could see him battling for any one of these guys to take their spot and put himself in there. I mean, just the way you said it. I mean, he looked good. It's the eye test, and the man really showed that. Took time off and didn't, and no rust was there. He just came back in swinging. I think he's going to help Trevor Lawrence tremendously, and I love it. I'm just sad that I have no shares of him.
I mean, we made a trade going back 3 years. He was part of it, and it was. I was very happy for a little bit, and then he got injured, and that was the end of that season. And then the year after, it was amazing. And then he got suspended. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but man, he's back, and I'm very excited. He's a big part of why I really love this offense. So finish out the show. We got a couple. We'll do like some panic meter questions here. So we kind of touched on it. I feel like this is gonna be low, but Joe Burrow, are you panicked at all?
No, no, I think we kind of just said it before, I mean, it's something that we've seen in the past. I'm pretty sure actually there's a statistics where Joe Burrow has lost the last couple of seasons as far as week one, um, with just a loss horrendously like this and then bounces back. So now I'm not worried about Joe Burrow.
Yeah, same here. It's very, very low. I'd put it at like a 2. If you're scale 1 to 10, I go 2. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Justin Fields and DJ Moore, we kind of touched on it. I'm at a 3 for that one. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I could see a little bit more of an uptick of where I'm not very much concerned at all, but there is still, I guess, a minor concern where we're still kind of waiting to see that passing ability of his. So yeah, I think, hopefully maybe with a not so covered up DJ Moore, we get a better outcome there.
yeah, agreed. Seahawks wide receivers. That was a pretty rough game. I expected the Seahawks to basically just completely dominate the Rams, and it was the exact opposite. So What do you think about the Seahawks wide receivers?
Mm, I mean, TK Metcalf was fine. I mean, I think low amount of passes kind of made it tough. I mean, he only threw 26 times. So I don't know exactly what I want to put my finger on with this game. Um, I know that there was injuries kind of going on between Tyler Lockett going to the medical tent. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba's injury before the actual season opener here, we were a little concerned about the surgery that he had, but I think it's going to be a little bit of him being a rookie coming into it. I think DK is fine. I think you're going to see more DK. It's just a matter of letting the other two kind of play their part, and hopefully, I think Gino will get a little bit more or get more used to that, and realize he's got three good wide receivers on the field.
Yeah, I'd put it at about a 5, just because Gino kind of turned into a pumpkin, um, which we were
Hmm.
hoping wasn't going to happen. And if that continues, then that's going to spell bad things for that entire offense. They were one of my sleepers to actually win the Super Bowl. I was toying around, throwing a couple bets in. I was very close to putting them in because it was really really good odds, to bet on, and they had the pieces. I mean, they this past draft, they were able to do kind of whatever they wanted. So, because they had a lot of draft capital from previous trades, and they got JSN, they have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett is always a decent option, and they were able to draft another running back. So, they have the pieces. It's just I think they need a little bit more time to mesh together, and that's what limited this. But all right, the next three guys got to hit the button, and I feel like you're going to agree here. But we got Cam Akers, Rashad White, Christian Cook. I got to hit the button here. This is tough because Cam Akers, he looked real bad. Christian Kirk completely uninvolved in the offense. Rashad White did not get the volume we were expecting. So these are guys like Cam Akers. I don't know if you saw any of the sideline spats he had, but he was not a happy camper, and neither was Sean McVay. You know, Kyron Williams came in and looked great. He played very meaningful snaps. Yeah, the offense might not be great without Cooper Cup, but they did pretty good this week. Puka Nakua looked great. Van Jefferson didn't look great, but I mean, do you want any pieces of Cam Akers? And part of me saying that is because I know you have him in the league. So, what are you thinking?
So I'm very much panicked to think about Cam Akers. It seems that there's just been this up and down, like between the off the field drama and on the field drama and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I think for me, I'm very much concerned. I would say I'm at an 8 right now. A 7 or an 8. Very much concerned. I need to see the next game to see if this is just a one thing, kind of like a squeaky wheel gets the oil, and he'll be back to doing some cool stuff next week, or will we continue to see Kyron Williams, and it'll make me sad. So, yeah, I'm the
This
most concerned about Cam Akers. The other two, I'm not concerned about really at all. I think I'm at more of 3 with both Rashad White and Christian Kirk.
So going back to Cam Akers, you said you want to see more. Do you know who they're playing this week? Because it's the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if you're going to be able to see much. it
Yeah,
it might
yeah, I
be a
agree with
bloodbath.
that.
So
Yeah, yeah. So
might need 2
I
weeks.
guess, yeah, okay. So sad.
Sorry, I just had to throw a little bit of water on that fire. But uh, for me, I'm a little concerned about Rashad White. Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up doing more than I thought. They ended up winning the game, which I did not see happening. But that was also because Kirk Cousins basically gifted them all of those turnovers. He played a horrible game. So I don't think that's going to be in the position where they can do that. And Rashad White, he didn't really do a lot for me to sway my opinion that he was
Still
going
got
to
17
be great.
carries.
Yeah, but he didn't really do much with him. That's kind of where I'm like, the efficiency might not be there. But Christian Kirk, I'm pretty worried because there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. You know, Evan Engram, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Zay Jones. Like, there's a lot of pieces. So I don't think anything's coming out of Calvin Ridley's pie at this point. I feel like that's solidified. So it's gonna be Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and he was basically relegated to strictly a slot role. So on 2 wide receiver sets, he's not going to be on the field. So that's the part that gives me a little pause because they don't necessarily need him to be what he was last year. So that's kind of where my hesitation is. So it doesn't seem like you are there. For me, it's more of a 6. Cam Akers, I'm probably going with a 9 because that was very, very eye opening and not very good. So, but I think that's everyone. I think those are a lot of the big storylines coming out of week 1. Just to remind everyone, it's week 1. Things happen very frequently that are just wonky. This was one of them. A lot of rust from some of these players that didn't really participate in preseason football. Only did practices. Now they're going into full game mode, and things need a little bit of time to jive. So, week 2 should be more of a tell on if these guys, if some of these concerns we have on some of these teams and players are true, or if week 1 was just that. Shake the rust off, get back into football shape. Now we see how teams are playing us and adjust. So that's what you need to do in your fantasy teams. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't do any spiteful hate drops. I've been there. It's not fun because then the next week the guy blows up and try to get him back and he's on someone else's team. Don't do that. Try to stay level-headed. I know it's a very emotional game that we play here in fantasy football. We've all been there. So don't think you are alone. Feel free to reach out to us. We have our website, theheroesff.com. You can submit a question. We could do some start sit for you. If you have any concerns about some players, check out the website. Check out our Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it. You got to go to twitter.com, but it's X. And YouTube, you can like, subscribe, share, review. Please click the like button. We'd love to hear from you. I think that wraps everything up. Do you have anything else to add before we sign off this evening?
Nope. Just super excited football's back.
It's going to be all right, everyone. We'll be back with our Heroes and Zero episodes in a few days. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. So long. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.